Hey friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and this is a first look at the Zolly Palette Scout. I have been waiting for this to arrive for a while now. I'm really excited to give this a try, and I've been seeing a lot of ads for it on Instagram and Facebook. Maybe you have too, because a lot of folks in our crafty community have been sharing product reviews of it. And so this is my first look at the Zolly Palette Scout. I'm going to unbox this and use it for the first time. And I will also mention that being that this is a first look, it's really meant to be kind of an unboxing and a first experience, out of the gates, how I plan to use this. And my intention is to try to use this for a few months in my crafting. And so hopefully you'll be seeing this more and more in my upcoming videos. And then I'll circle back and let you know what I think of this after I've had a fair chance of using it in more day-to-day, like practical crafting. And in particular, one of the things that I want to compare this against is the color cube, because that too is very popular among us paper crafters and crafters in general, but the two products are fundamentally pretty different. Just to give you some overall information about the Palette Scout. So let me just flip over real quick to their website. So you can go to Zolly Makes, and I'll put everything in the description box below. But if you right up at the top, you're going to see Shop Palette Scout. So it's going to be front and center. But the company that puts this out, they actually do a lot of fiber crafts. So things like yarn, thread, and lots of project inspiration and project kits for things like patterns for different things. So hats, needlework, little stuffed animals. So you can see there's quite a lot going on here in terms of different soft crafts. And so the Palette Scout is meant to be a complement to all of those different types of crafting. And what my plan is, at least for this first look video, is to actually show you how I think I will try to use it in my crafting. I'm not going to actually make a card today, but I just want to share with you what this product is all about and how I, as a card maker and paper crafter, think I can use this. And that's why I'm really excited, because I feel like for me, color is a weakness. And so I'm really excited to actually incorporate this. Now, when you click on the Shop Palette Scout, there's going to be a lot of different options for what you can get. So you can get just the physical cards themselves, or you can get it with the tutorial videos, and you can also get it with additional PDFs or digital materials. And so you can look at what all of those cost, and you can expand these descriptions here to see what all comes in each of those bundles. So, there's lots of different options. There's lots of different, resources that you can get. And I'm really excited that Zolly, Sarah Resnick at Zolly Makes, she did send this to me for free. And not only did she send this to me for free, she also included the digital courses. I took all of them online. And she also very generously offered me 3 Palette Scouts to give away. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give away one of these Palette Scouts. It's just going to be the physical ones. And you'll just need to expand the description box below to see how to enter for a chance to win one of these Palette Scouts from this video. After I've had a chance to use this more and more, I'm gonna offer a second palette scout, maybe just during one of the random tutorial videos where I'm using it to craft with. And then when I do my conclusion video and give you some more, definitive thoughts on the product after I've had a fair chance to use it, I will give away the third palette scout then. So keep watching, keep staying tuned to my channel. The best thing, if you're not already subscribed, is to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. That way when I post a new video, you'll know, and it might be a video where I'm giving away a palette scout. So here is what comes with. This is a really nice, sturdy box. If you've ever played card games, like strategy games and things like that, like Cards Against Humanity, stuff like that, they come in like really nice, sturdy boxes like these. And so this is no different. This is really nice. And what you'll have is 2 decks that are kind of shrink wrapped or have a little bit of shrink film on them. But they have the kind that has the tearaway thread through it, so it makes it really easy to get them out. And as you can see, this is my first time actually physically using the cards, but I did watch, as I mentioned, the online classes that came with the complete bundle. So I got a nice, sort of like a primer on how they suggest you use this. And I'm going to show you something different. And but it's going to be a sort of an offshoot, because I feel like for me and how this can benefit my card making, I'm going to use it in a slightly different way to how they've suggested. So firstly, what comes with the palette scout, what makes it unique, and what is it recommended for, or how is it recommended that you use this? Well, at the end of the day, it's a tool for you to create color combinations or color palettes to craft with, whatever that craft might be. That could be a quilt, it could be a stitch design, it can be a friendship bracelet, it can be a card. So, a painting even. So everything that you might do that involves color, this could be a very useful tool. What do you get? You get in total 180 colors, and this is the little pamphlet that shows you how to actually use the palette scout, and it kind of teaches you the anatomy of each card and a little bit about various different color theories and ways of selecting color. So there's a lot of information here, and I definitely recommend that you take a little bit of time to read this. It's a short read. I mean, it's a lot of little panels, but there's short paragraphs in each of them. And what I'll do is I'll try to give a summary of everything. So this, in terms of terminology, and to be honest, like if you don't want to commit these terms to memory, don't sweat it. The thing that I feel like is very unique about this product is that you don't really need to stress about the terminology, and you're still going to be able to find this pretty easy to use. And it's designed in a very clever way, so I'll get more into that. This is your color wheel, and it shows the various different colors or hues. So hues are essentially unique colors, and they are kind of split up or divided up in this circular pattern here. Typically on a color wheel you would find 12 unique colors. Here the color wheel that they've chosen to use actually has 18 colors. So when I say the word color, most of the time I'm probably interchanging it with the meaning of the word hue. It's just a unique color that is has a place on the color wheel as shown here. What you'll find is that there's different shapes that are shown around that border, and the different shapes are repeated. So you'll see, starting at yellow here, there's triangle, square, or circle, and then that repeats. Triangle, square, circle, triangle, square, circle, all the way around. So that's going to come in handy later, and you'll see why that's kind of the clever bit to how this product has been designed. And I do want to also mention, because I sometimes get comments about it, my first look videos, I don't know how long these will run because I'm not trying to fit everything into a specific duration. So if this does tend to be on the long side, what I'll do is I will timestamp the video so that if there's like logical bookmarks that I can add, I'll do that, and you can skip to the portions that are more of most interest to you. Okay, so moving on, then we look at the various different ways to think about your color, each individual color or each individual hue. So when we are looking at the hue, there's actually a card in the deck that shows you all 18. So if you've lost your little pamphlet, don't sweat it. There's a card in the deck that shows you all 18 hues or 18 colors. They are all named. What's the other bit of clever design work here is that they have named all 18 in alphabetical order. So instead of calling this yellow, they've named it amber. The next color is buttercup, then carrot, then daylily, and so on and so forth, so that if you wanted to reset your deck and put them in color wheel order, you don't have to remember, okay, it's yellow, then orange, then red. And if you don't want to remember the actual color order, all you have to do is just go by the color name and reset your deck alphabetically by the name of the hue, and then that's going to put it in rainbow order for you. So I think that's a bit of really clever, good design that just makes this product more usable. And so I love that. And this gives you the little tip about how to reset your deck and how to read each color. So next up, if we want to look at value and intensity, as I mentioned, these are two terms that are variations on each hue. So then, what do I mean by that? Each of the 18 hues or 18 colors has its own card. The card has the shape that's been assigned to it on the color wheel, the name. It also has, it's kind of hard to really see, but there's a faint, you can see the faint color wheel, but then where this particular color lands on the color wheel, it's full color. See how that's like really light? It's a nice little tint of the whole color wheel, but that's like full saturation there. So it tells you where this sits on the color wheel. And then here's where we get into some of these terms. So for each color, when you look at the color, the way it's represented on the wheel, at its most bright and true self, that's 3. So the color amber, in its most pure intensity, is a 3. So that's just pure color. Now, when we go to trying to change the colors and alter it, the 2 colors above it are the number 3 color, and then you add some black. So think of this as, let's say you had a blob of yellow paint, amber paint, and you just added a touch of black. If you added a little touch of black, you would get number 2. If you added more black, you would get number 1. Now, if you were to take number 3, add a touch of white, you would get 4. this is a tint of number 3, and add even more white, and you would get an even lighter tint of this color. So when you add white, you are tinting the color. If you are adding black, you are creating a shade of the color. So think of black being shadows, right? If you look outside and and a tree is casting a shadow, it kind of looks black, right? So think of shade as adding black. Tints are when you add white. I can't think of a mnemonic to help you remember that, or help myself remember it. But that's basically, how you get your various different values of a color. So 3 is the base. Tints are adding white. Shades are adding black. So now, when you think about intensity of the color, so how bright is it versus how toned down is it? How muted is the color? You take each of these colors, and then if you added gray to it, you would get these tones. There are you can even tell this one in particular, it goes from something that's like a very light yellow, and then you add some gray to it, and it looks like gray just with a little bit of yellow in it, but it's very grayish, right? And that's because all of the tones are, when you add gray to a color, you are essentially just taking that color and muting it, toning it down a little bit, desaturating it a little bit by taking some of that intensity out of it. So it tends to really like calm down the colors a little bit. And they talk a little bit about the different colors and the moods that you can create with color. So those are the basic anatomy of all of the various different colors. So as you can see, there's going to be 18 unique colors or 18 unique hues. For each of the 18 hues, you basically have 10 variations on it. And that's why if you look at the back, it says 180 colors. That's how they come up with that number, 180. So that's how that's represented. And one of the things that there's going to be a lot of different, strategies that you can employ when you are choosing your color palette. Some of them have to do with getting a good mix of different values. So if everything was the same value, remember value is whether we add any white or black. So if everything is like a 3, then there's really not a lot of dynamic range there. So one of the strategies might be to kind of mix up the values. Another strategy might be to mix up, the intensity. So going for full intensity versus toned down intensity. So lots of information just on this front side of the card. There's a back side as well. So then if you flip to the back of this, there's a lot of information about how to actually put together a color palette. And there are, if you look at here, this is where it starts to get into color theory and color matching. So like how to match or mix and match different colors that will essentially, look good or pleasing to the eyes. And there's been a lot of research on this, so that's why these terms are pretty well known by artists who study design and study color theory. So you have things like complementary, monochrome, analogous, split complementary, and triadic. So lots of different strategies for how you actually go about picking your color palette. So I'm going to show you how we can do that. And I'm going to do that by flipping to the back of one of these cards. Okay, so everybody knows I'm hashtag Team Teal. So ocean is, I believe, the closest color to teal in the 18 hues that we have. So there's my card that I'm gonna take as the basis for my palette. I want my palette to start here, and then I'm gonna flip to the back of the ocean card. And here it actually tells you, okay, if you want to create a complementary color palette, then look for the circle that's in that reddish color. And so here's the thing. Yeah, it doesn't say the name, but if we look at the actual cards, these are your color cards. So you can see all of them here. And what will you notice? But there's the name, which this doesn't tell me the name of it on this, so that doesn't help. But look, there's also a shape. So what I'm looking for to complement this is something that looks kind of reddish, it looks. So I'm just going to just swing by here, and I'm looking for something that has a circle on it. So check this out. So here's some reddish things. There's garnet, which is reddish, but it's got a triangle, so it's not that. Hibiscus, well, it's red, but it's more like a pink. So in any case, it's got a square, so that's not it. And hey, look at this. I've got something reddish. It looked reddish to me, and it's circular. So I think that's it. So let's go ahead and pull those cards out. And while we're at it, since I want to play with ocean, let's grab the ocean cards. So since this deck is, and by the way, I'm looking at the deck. It's kind of, this one's kind of mixed. Here's all of the ocean cards. So one of the things that's fun and unique about this deck is that it's actually double-sided. So let me show you the anatomy of these color cards. So here I have my main color that I want to play with. Look at all those beautiful colors. So here's my ocean card. Number 3 is the pure intensity, the true color. If you take the true color and you add more and more white to it, you get these 2 tints. If you add more and more black, you get these 2 shades. Now, what about all those tones? Remember we said tones are when we add gray to a card? Where are those colors? Well, flip to the back, and now you have all 5 tones in ocean. And how you can tell the difference, if it's hard to just kind of spot it visually, is that there'll be a dot at the bottom, and that tells you this is the tone side of the cards. And I think once you use this more, you're going to be able to identify it, because your regular colors, regular intensity, they're going to feel a little bit more bright, a little bit more cheerful. Even the darker one, right? It just feels a little bit more saturated. Whereas flip to the back, and everything is more muted. Everything's kind of taken down a notch because there's been gray added to it. Okay, so we've identified that, and if you don't like to just kind of wing it and go by the color and the shape, what you can do is you can take this card and you can kind of put them side by side and just use this card as a key. So I can go, okay, those 2 line up, so I'm looking for flame. But to be honest, like, I don't even really think you need to do that, because if you look at each section of colors here, because the shape helps to uniquely identify which range of colors, I think you can just go by the shape, to be honest. Like, there's only like a couple of yellows, right? So when you see something's yellowish, you can just sort of look through your yellowish cards and see which shape matches the shape back here. So that's how I plan to look at it. Now, if you're trying to make a color palette that follows the complementary color scheme, then you would basically say, okay, well, I really like this. This is where I wanted to start. So let me pick a color that is a good complement to it. So if I pick that, these are two cards that are both 3. Well, that looks good. However, I basically have the same value. So if we look at the value scale, you can see like some colors are going to be lighter and some colors are darker in value. So if you took a picture and you changed it to just a black and white photo, these would basically look really close to one another because they're both 3s. So how about we introduce some range? So maybe I'll take a light color, have 2 colors in my teal, and then maybe I'll take this one from the flame. And so now you can see it, I've got a 3, a 4, and a 5. So there's a little bit of a range there. And so here's where you can kind of play. Do you want a palette of 1 or 2 colors, or do you want a palette of 3 or 4 colors? So maybe I'll add something a little bit dark and go with this flame color in a 1, which is a shade of the original. Then the other thing we can also play with is, well, let's use some of the tones, because there's nothing to say that you have to stick to just the pure intensity side. You can maybe flip some of these to make them a little bit more muted. And that sort of starts to change the vibe. It changes the feel and the mood of your project. And so you can see if I use 3 muted colors, but I leave this really intense, you can see now that this color really starts to pop when you use them with this. So that's another fun thing to play with, like which color do you want to be sort of your focal image, like your really eye-catching image. Because normally flame being kind of close to red, this would normally really grab your attention because red usually alerts us to important things, right? Danger signs are red, stop signs are red, stop lights are red. So red is usually like caution, pay attention to me. But if we take something that is just a tint of that and then further tone it down, then you can see that it doesn't really grab your eye quite as much. And when you flank this ocean color in its pure form, true intensity, then and you flank that with muted colors, you can see how this really pops now, as compared to using all of the pure intensity colors. Both really nice. Just to your own, taste, you might find it nice, I suppose. I think it's nice, but you can kind of see that maybe playing around with these, you can create some different moods and different variations on your project. So now, if we're looking for something monochromatic, then you would just use colors from just the single set of 5. And so here maybe you would want to do the same thing, although I'm not sure why they didn't just start with monochromatic as the first thing, because it's kind of the easiest to do. But here you would want like a nice range, right? So I have a 1, a 3, and a 5, nice spread out range. And I can do the same thing where maybe some of these I will make them a little bit more muted just so that this really pops. So that's 2 out of the 3 different ways that you can form your palette. Analogous means that I guess I should say, because you don't really need to understand the the terminology, but essentially a complementary color palette basically just means wherever your color, start with one color, whatever color that is. If you look across the color wheel, that's the complement. So that's how flame was decided. And this is why it's a bit clever how they've done this, because you can see that the circles, they're both circles, so it makes it like really easy to kind of identify. Then if you look at analogous, the next one, an analogous color palette means whatever color you're starting with, take the color next to it on either or both sides. So if we look at this, let's take these cards away. If we look at our card again, so here we're looking for a purple triangle and a green square. Purple triangle, green square. Easy peasy. I'm just gonna go through here. I'm in the green section, so I'll grab the green squares in that section. Okay, so you can see in the greens there was squares, there's triangle greens, and there's circular greens, but this shows a square, so I'm gonna pick out the square. I don't even really have to look at the color wheel or look at this reference chart. That's why this has been so cleverly designed. Okay, so now purples. We've got some sort of, a very plummy pinky purple. We've got another very standardish purple. So, and then we have a very more like a lavender purple. And so I'm looking for one that is that looks more like a bluey purple, because purple is red and blue. And so this looks like the right color to me, is these purple triangles here. Now there's another set of purple triangles, so I will admit that in the purple range, there is this range of purples, but if we look at this though, like you can kind of see that it's more closely this color. So let's pull those out and we'll use them. Now, of course, if you want to spot check yourself, you can definitely do that by, like I said, just taking your card with the palettes, and just, you can see it's not going to be that purple. And so it is indeed midnight. And same with the greens. You can see there's only one green square. So that looks to be correct. And so here's an analogous color palette, our choices for building an analogous color palette. And so you can kind of do the same thing, just start picking your colors. So maybe I'll start with something here, and then, to be honest, like the names of the colors, that's just a sorting thing. Honestly, don't even worry about the names, because they aren't names of the color. They're just names to help you to reorder this in rainbow order later, if that's something that you want to do. So don't even worry about the color names. They don't really match to anything. So I've got a 5, which is a very light tint of this green, and then maybe I'll take something. Maybe I will take another 3 in the purple, but maybe I'll mute that, take the tone of that, so that the intensities, like if you get 2 intensity cards that are the same, I think they compete quite a lot for your eyes. So then I would be more inclined to mute one of these, take the tone of it, and then I feel like it's more comfortable for my eyes to look at, because it's not like a lot of intensity hitting me at the same time. And then I kind of want to throw something a little bit darker in the mix, so maybe I'll grab a really dark teal or ocean card. And so maybe that's my palette. And then if you want, maybe you can toss in like a 5th color too. If you want to brighten things up a little bit, you want to change things up a little bit. So your color palettes can be any number of cards. And I think I would be more inclined to pick another green, because then my greens and my teals are outnumbering the purple, and then maybe purple becomes more of a little spot of interest, because there's just not going to be a lot of it relative to the other colors. So that is your analogous colors. And next, so that's sort of, this is one of those things where I don't think you really need to know the terminology, but if you want to learn the terminology, it's here for you. It's here for you to learn. And if you take the classes, if you get the classes that come with the complete bundle, then it goes into it in much more detail. But if you open up your booklet, it also actually explains how each of these are defined. So if we want to take the split complement, what we're going to do is you take the, you can kind of split, do the split in a couple ways, but essentially what you're looking at doing is taking your main color, which is going to be our teal, looking across the color wheel, and then taking the two colors next to it. So here we have, if we look at this, we've got a, and so far there hasn't been like a duplicate yet, right? These all get you like pretty different palettes once you start to play. Okay, so now we're looking for sort of an orange square. And that looks like it might be Ember here. Orange square. And then like a reddish triangle. So I am assuming that reddish triangle is garnet. Okay, so we can double check if we want to take it, bring it up against this. So that does look like it's Ember, and the reddish triangle does look like it's garnet. So that's our split complement. And then you would do the same. So you would just pick and choose your various cards based off of, you know, getting a good assortment of value from 1 to 5. And maybe mixing things up to get, you know, the tones mixed in with the pure intensity. So then our last type of palette that we can create is a triadic. And triadic just means that if you pick whatever color you're gonna pick, and then you kind of split the color wheel in 3 equally. Those are the colors that go with your triadic color combination. So again, don't really need to understand that. All we need to do is just recognize shapes and colors. So here we go. We're looking for circles because they're evenly spaced. So this is the clever bit of how this has been designed. They're evenly spaced on the color wheels, so it's always going to land circles. So here we're looking for like a yellow-orange circle. And so that looks like it might be carrot. And then we're looking for like a pinky circle. So that looks like it's ibis here. Okay. And again, you know, if you want to double check yourself just to start building some confidence, here's the circle, and that is carrot. Here's the pink circle, and that is ibis. And that's what we've got here. So I'm not going to do the exercise of picking and choosing, but you can kind of see that once you have the cards, because it's full color, it gives you a really great way of seeing and playing with different colors, combinations of colors. Easy to kind of pick stuff, pull it out, you know, put it back, flip it, you know, just play and have a little bit of an exploration for the various different color palettes that you can create. So I've just been off to the side, just stacking all of the colors here. So now you can see, oh my gosh, it's in all this like weird order now. So if you wanted to reset this, here's where the names, I should say the names on the cards, because they aren't like a real color name per se, but here's where you can use those names to reset your deck. and put them back in order, because you just need to do it alphabetically and you'll have them in rainbow order. Or you can just leave them, because like I said, it's like if you're using this as the driving force and you trust that you can just look at the shapes and the colors, the color will get you kind of in the neighborhood, and then the actual shape will help you to really zone in on the exact set of cards that you'll want. Okay, so that's how to use the Palette Scout. And I think a lot of the tutorials and a lot of the product reviews that I've seen so far focus on just that. Like, okay, here's how you can kind of play with these cards and create some really cool palettes. But the question for me is, how am I going to use this on a more practical sense in my crafting? So here's my thought exercise in my head as I've been anticipating getting this. I craft with a lot of pattern paper, and one of the things that I often struggle with is finding solid color cardstock to complement and create different mats and layers for my cards. And a lot of times what I end up doing is just like my personal process. What I end up doing a lot of times when I'm crafting with pattern paper is I just look at like a pattern. If I chose a specific pattern to use, for example, let's find one that's like, okay, this is one of my favorite in this. So let's say this was the pattern paper I wanted to use. I would just pick a color that I really liked, that I wanted to maybe highlight, and then see if I have a solid color in that, and then I would just use that for all of the mats and layers. But here's where I'm hoping the Palette Scout helps me to create some more like maybe a sophisticated cards with some more interesting color dynamic ranges. So let's say, for example, that we're gonna play with that. And let's say what I want to, the color that I really want to pull out is, let's pick the blue. I'm such a fan of blue, because the red is like a really nice pop of red, right? But let's see if I can maybe bring some of the blue more to the foreground. And so what am I gonna do? I can use this to sort of, okay, let's hold this up. Which blue is, it's not going to be perfect, but which is close? And I feel like Neptune gets me pretty close to the blue in that flower. I don't think it's Midnight. Midnight has some purples in it. I don't think it's Ocean. Ocean's more teal. So I think Neptune is going to be my best bet. So let's first start by finding the Neptune card. So we just did Ocean, and so here's Neptune. And now with the Neptune card, I can kind of see, okay, how close of a match do I actually, the number 3 intensity might be pretty close. 4 might be better. 5, because you can see in this flower there's some pure intensity and then there's some tints, right, where it's a lot lighter. So there's a good range of the Neptune color. It's not a perfect match, but it's close. You can kind of see in this spot here, there's maybe even some shades of that Neptune color. So I think Neptune, that's a good base if that's what we're trying to highlight. So I'm going to bring out the Neptune color cards. So we've got 5 of them. Each hue or each color will have 5 cards that represent the range of intensity and all of the tones in there as well. And so now what I want to do is flip to the back, And let's see if we can create a color palette to go with this pattern paper. Now, here's something interesting to note. Like if you look at Neptune and the split complement, it's got like a yellowy orange and sort of a reddish color. And if you kind of notice, this whole pattern paper design is a split complement because it's got, some of the yellows and some of those reds. So you can kind of see that in a lot of your pattern paper designs and in art that is generally considered like appealing, you actually might see a lot of these various different color palettes are present, because there is a reason why people find certain things appealing. There's some general principles that are at play that you psychologically you don't even know is happening. They're just happening. Okay, so H. Okay, so let's find, what are we looking for? So if I'm trying to like maybe find a palette that, or maybe it's not split complement, maybe it's more triadic, the blue, red, and yellow. Yeah, that's probably more this palette. But let's say I want to actually make a complementary. So I'm looking for like an orangey color that's square. So an orangey color that's square. Oh, I think yeah. Is it Ember? I think that might be Ember. Let me check my pile from before because I actually haven't put this back in. I think Ember might be correct there. So, all right. So let's put that out there. And if I were to create some mats and layers that are of a complementary palette, then maybe I would go with this Neptune. Maybe I would want to go with a 2 here. So we have a 5 card and a 2 card just to try to get some dynamic range in value. And then on the Ember, maybe we want to keep it really light also. Take a tone so it almost looks like it's more muted, or perhaps and this is such a bright print, I don't think I want to use too many muted colors, but if it's a matte and layer behind there, maybe I do. Oh, that's actually kind of nice, because this color I feel like is also in this palette. Some of the tulips have that color in them. And then maybe I also want to pull in something really dark just so that I have a nice range. So here's a palette of colors that I can now kind of use with this pattern paper, which I often do like to craft with pattern paper. And so now when I go to actually pick out some solid color cardstock, I can try to see what I can find that is a good mix. So, or something that's close to these colors. So I swatch out my solid color cardstock, and so I put them on a ring, and that way what I can do is I can just reference this and I can see, okay, what do I have that's kind of close, right? And this color is probably close to my Neptune. So if I put this against here, I think that looks good, and it starts to kind of bring out some more of those bluish tints there in the tulips, because it's so sparse back here. But once you kind of imagine having a full border of this blue around this pattern paper, it definitely makes those blue tulips that are so like faint, there's only like little spots of color there, it helps you to like see that and just calls a little bit more attention to it. And so I can just go through all of my little cardstock swatches and see, okay, can I find something close to, some of the other colors? And if I can't, maybe I'll just skip it. Or, maybe you can also explore your ink pads to see if if you have something that's a similar color in your ink pads, and then just make your own color cardstock. Because I have a wider range of inks than I do paper. I mean, you might not think that to look at this swatch ring, but but actually, like, I don't have all of these colors. I might have at one point, but I might not have restocked them all. So that's the thing that it's nice to play with these palettes and just see them, but then how do you actually craft with it, right? So that is, one of the things that I want to actually see as I review this product and use it is, this is all really nice and it's a fun little color exercise. And I'm feeling like I learn a lot from just playing, with the cards and creating the color palettes. But in a practical sense, as it pertains to my card making anyways, can I use it? Is it helpful? Because it's one thing to be kind of interesting and fun to look at, fun to play with, but can I actually, or will I actually use it in my card making? And so that's a different question altogether. And so that's one of the things that I'll be exploring over the next few months as I continue to try to use this and integrate it in my card making. But I wanted to show how you're meant to use it, how you're shown to use it based off of the instructions in the book. And if you do get the complete bundle where you are actually taught some of these different color theories in more depth, going through all of that will teach you more how to use it. And let's just say, actually, for instance, I just want to go through another exercise. So maybe that was one palette to try to emphasize the blues, but what if we did want to emphasize the reds? So let's try to create a second palette from this. And I think garnet or flame might be good. So we'll say flame, since I have it out still. No, flame might not be. Oh, I still have garnet here too. Okay, here's garnet. Yeah, I think garnet might be closer if I look at the number 3 card. So let's build a palette. That was one palette. Let's build a palette around the reds in this pattern paper to see if we can emphasize the red. So then I would go to the color card here and find the garnet card, and then flip to the back of the garnet card to find all of the shapes and colors for creating different palettes. So as you can see, the triadic is represented here as well. So you've got the blues and the yellows and the reds. So you can see that's still there. Let's say we want to create a split complementary palette though. So that, I think that circle is ocean. That's what we were playing with earlier. So there's that. And then a green in the square. So a square green. That's this one right here. Okay. So then if we want to play with that palette, what would that look like? So red being a really intense color, maybe I do want to take 3 because it's already really intense there. Maybe I want to leave the pattern paper so that it pops, and I'll just take a shade of that. So it's darker, and maybe I can frame this pattern in like a darker shade of that color. And then other colors that I might choose to go along with it. Now, here's the thing that I'm going to have to break my mindset from, because normally I would just pick colors that I see here, and that's what I would use. But if we're looking for, we have to trust that if we're going to use a split complementary, oh, did I say, yeah, split complementary, then really any of these colors should use. Now, there's no actual teal in here. There's blues and then there's greens, but there's no, like, if you look at it, there's no actual teals. But let's see if we can pick a color palette that we like from this. Like maybe this really light ocean. And then let's pick maybe another from Garnet, just so that we have a couple in this color. And maybe we do want to just add another little pop. Since that's our main color, I kind of like using the number 3 in our main color. That's the color we want to emphasize. And then I can take maybe like a dark green. And then we could even tone those two down to keep the focus more, like the intensity more on the red. I mean, red's already a pretty intense color, but if you want to keep it even more intense, you can just tone down the other colors by flipping to the back. And then instead of everything being of like very pure intensity, you just have them all be toned down a little bit. And so you could use this palette, and it just emphasizes the reds in the pattern paper, as opposed to this, which emphasizes the blues in the pattern paper. So kind of interesting. I think this is how I'm going to try to use the Palette Scout in my crafting, is in particular with picking solid color cardstock to go with my, or making my own solid color cardstock if I have to pull out my inks, because I actually have more ink colors than I do, paper colors. So, so that's my first look at the Palette Scout. Really excited for this, as I mentioned, because for me, it's been a little bit of a challenge to pick colors to match the pattern papers that I use. And so I think this is going to be a fun way to learn more about colors. And then maybe, because at some point, if you're thinking more intentionally about your color choices, then it's quite possible that it starts to become a little bit second nature. Like it's kind of like, for me, how I think about it is using card sketches, because the more I use card sketches, sometimes, some of my favorite card sketches, they just stick in my brain a little bit. And so then I just naturally use them, and I get like just a little bit better at actually laying out or composing my cards. So it's one of those things where I feel, or at least I hope, that by actually being more intentional about picking colors, that I just get better at it, because it's just a muscle that we exercise. And the more you exercise that muscle, the stronger you'll be at that particular thing. And so if I play with colors more, hopefully I get better at choosing colors. Now, the other thing that is included that I haven't shown is these challenge cards. So I think these are just for fun, and again, just different ways to kind of exercise your brain a little bit when it comes to playing with colors, picking colors. But you can kind of see different things that they recommend that you try to just sort of break you out of a rut. Let's say you're starting from a blank canvas, and one of the things I actually might do, because the other time that I feel very challenged by color is when I'm doing some gel printing, and I have like a ton of I have this pretty wide range of acrylic paints, and it's so hard for me to pick colors to do a gel print from, and I often would just gravitate to some of the same combinations. And so I think one of the things that I'll do in a future episode, as I'm reviewing the Palette Scout, is maybe do a gel printing session, because with that, because you do have the white paint that you can add to make your tints, and there's black paints that you can add to make your shades, and then there's gray paints I can add to tone anything down. I can actually probably do a pretty decent job of like hitting some of these different intensities and some of these different values. And so I think that would be a really fun future video as well. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing that and exploring some new colors and color combinations. So, like I said, this is one of those things where, just like card sketches, my hope is that as I'm creating and building new color palettes, I'm just going to find some combinations that I really like. And I will hopefully, instead of gravitating to the same one or two palettes that I currently have in my toolbox, I'll have maybe like, 5 and 6 or 10, or maybe I'll just like picking colors will become a little bit more intuitive. And that's going to definitely take some time. But I think a tool like this, if you're interested in trying to be a little bit more intuitive with your color selection, I think a tool like this can really help bridge the gap from where you are at now and where picking colors feels like second nature. That's my hope, anyhow. So, like I mentioned, I will leave links to all the products in the description box below. I am giving away a Palette Scout deck that's just for the cards, not for the online classes or the additional PDFs. So if you are interested in winning a Palette Scout donated to me by Zali, expand the description box below and you can find out how to enter and the deadline for entering. I'll announce the winner to my YouTube community page, so be sure to check there often if you're not subscribed. If you are subscribed and you've hit the notification bell, then you should get an alert whenever I post new content, and that includes content to my community page. And so so that's the best way to kind of stay informed. And as I mentioned, as I review this product, in total, Sarah Resnick at Zali has donated 3 of these Palette Scouts for me to give away. So I'm giving away one now from this video, and I'll give away a second one as in my course of reviewing the Palette Scout and using it in my day-to-day crafting. So I don't know when that'll be, but there'll be a future video where I'm crafting with this, and probably more than one. So I'll give away a second Palette Scout deck in that video. And then when I actually have had a fair chance at using this and have had an opportunity to basically form a more, well-informed opinion on whether I like this or not, I'll come back with another follow-up review video, and I will give a third Palette Scout away then. So we're talking probably, short term, maybe a few weeks to a month out is when the second one will go out, and probably a few months before that third one's given away. So I want to thank Zali for not only giving me the product and the full complete bundle with all of the digital courses and the extra PDFs, which I haven't even talked about those. So if you want to check out what all is available, one of the cool things is that if you are a fiber crafter, the extra PDFs are color matching guides to various different brands of yarn, DMC embroidery floss, and various different fiber products. And as well, there's color matching PDFs for Prismacolor pencils and for Ohuhu alcohol markers. So how awesome is that there are these extra resources available so that you can, again, use this product as a tool and have additional resources to use as a full complement to making this more practical in your crafting, whatever type of crafting you like to do. So So I'm really excited. This has been fun. I'm eager to try it out and actually make a card using this. So stay tuned for that. And good luck to everybody who enters into the giveaway. Thanks for catching this video, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.